Or how is it that we handle utter devastation that may come our way? If you talk to many people who have gone through trials and difficulty, they will tell you that the tragedies and the setbacks make them stronger. Maria and I sat in the emergency room with Eve Jennings this week and held her hand as she writhed in pain from her Parkinson's. And many of you who know her know that day by day it gets worse and worse. And in the midst of that, she was telling jokes, telling us how she felt about us, and telling us how she loved her church. How is it that we handle setbacks and tragedies, illnesses and miscarriages and job loss and divorce and betrayal? If we were rendered silent, what would we think about? Whom would we think about in that time of quietness? Who would we study about making amends to? Would we wonder for the reason that through the years we might have lost the joy that once beat within us? Would we look at all the reasons that we need to build bridges again to those family members that we have cut ourselves off from, or who have cut ourselves or themselves off from us? What would we do in those moments of quiet and silence? 9 long months. We're told that when Zechariah could first speak, not at the baby's birth, but at the baby's circumcision 8 days later, the first thing he did after writing his name is John is he broke out in song, a prophetic song. What is the first thing that you and I would say coming out of such a silent period? Would we sing a spirit-filled song as Zechariah? What would that song be? And would we shout with joy from the rooftops at all the things that we had learned and studied about ourselves and about God and about life and death in the midst of that quiet time? Because of these tragic setback experiences in our life, do we find ourselves having a new reservoir of faith and joy and possibility thinking that we might not have had before? Isn't it a shame that so often it takes events like that to help us really reframe and refocus our lives? I want us to think about what it would be like to be able to have that kind of reservoir that we could draw from, a new faith, a new wonder, a new joy in the midst of this season that's so full of life and promise. And as we do that, I want to share a story with you about a man who always seems to make every small thing a wonder, a joy. And I read to you from Hometown Tales, Philip Gulley, a Quaker writer, Quaker preacher, who tells about how sometimes we don't know what we've got until we've lost it and find it again. My mother-in-law, Ruby, lives in southern Indiana in the town of Paoli. We spend family Christmas with her. Those good people in Paoli remember what Christmas is all about. Each year, just before Thanksgiving, Herb from the street department hauls the baby Jesus, his mama and daddy, and an assortment of livestock and shepherds and wise men out of storage, and he sets them up on the courthouse lawn. The Holy Family takes residence on the southwest corner of the square, and no one dares to complain. There are no civil libertarians in Paoli at Christmas time. But Christmas isn't official until Wilson Roberts decorates his variety store, which he does every day after Thanksgiving. Each year, the same adornments: a cardboard cutout of Rudolph taped to the front window, a strand of tinsel hung over the checkout counter, and a bucket of candy canes left over from the year before, sitting next to the cash register. On that day, at precisely 8:50 a.m., people from all over the town head to the variety store to start their gift buying. It's a migration every bit as predictable as the Capistrano swallows. I stopped in a few years ago looking for a nativity set. The week before, my wife said, "What this house needs is a nativity set." So on the day after Thanksgiving, while everyone else was lying around in a turkey-filled stupor, I drove into town to the variety store. It's a small store in need of a liquidation sale in the worst kind of way. Wilson's motto is, "We have it if we can find it." 40 years of merchandise is stacked to the ceiling. It makes for some incongruent discoveries, I might add. I once found a poster of Michael Jackson next to a 1959 edition of the Farmer's Almanac. I went inside and I sought out Wilson Roberts. He was sitting in the back of the store smoking a cigar, ashes dribbling to the floor. I'd like to buy a nativity set, I told him. He said, well, I know I have one if I can find it. He began to look. He looked over by the hairnets and the bobby pins. Not there. He looked at the garden hoses. Not there. Then he went over by the yard goods and the notions. No Holy Family there either. He looked over near the lawn chairs, then underneath the candy display, which is where he found it. So he dusted off the box and opened it, and he took a roll call. One manger, one kneeling mother, one proud father, some shepherds, 3 wise men, 1 sheep, 1 cow, 1 donkey, and 1 baby Jesus. Everyone present and accounted for, that will be $12, he told me. How about 10, I counted. The box was torn and the cow was missing an ear. Wilson Roberts squinted at me, shifted his cigar from side to side and said, you got yourself a deal. So now we have a nativity set, French-made, genuine plaster from Paris, the box says. The day I brought the nativity set was the last time I saw Wilson Roberts alive. He died the next year. We drive past his store on our way to Thanksgiving dinner at Ruby's. Then Walmart moved in, and people talk about it as if it's a blessing. I guarantee you Walmart won't have a 1959 edition of the old Farmer's Almanac. Don't even bother to ask. I think back on Wilson Roberts searching amid bobby pins and yard goods for the baby Jesus. Sometimes our search for the divine has us poking around in all kinds of corners. Each year at Christmas, I'll haul our nativity set out of storage and place it on the piano next to the front door. That way, when we're scurrying about in frenzy, honoring the birth of one who told us not to be anxious about anything, we can pause and remember what Christmas is all about. How that quiet baby came into this tumultuous world, greeted by wide-eyed shepherds and one-eared cows. And as always, I swing open my curious head, my open heart, my expectant spirit with the rest of the wide-eyed world. As we poke around looking for the divine this Christmas, may we never lose our sense of wonder in his amazing birth. And let us not be surprised if somewhere in the midst of reliving this Christmas miracle, we too are left speechless, if only for a moment.